And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And I want to talk a little bit about Iran because, I mean, we're seeing it all day long. They're out there. They're so desperate to start this major war because the money junkies and the power trippers in Wall Street and Washington, D.C. have absolutely convinced themselves that all they have to do is get enough blood flowing across the desert. And you will forget all about the corruption and the mortgage-backed security fraud and the vote fraud and all this other stuff that's been going on, and you will obediently salute that flag and fling your children onto the enemy's bayonets on command. They're desperate to believe that because without that, they know they're lost. They're sunk. The Eurozone implosion is going to take it all apart right now. We are hearing from Great Britain that they understand Israel will attack Iran sometime in the next 2 months. And of course, we've been telling you why. End of December, the Americans are kicked out of Iraq. The new government of Iraq has told the American forces, get out. If you're still on the ground, January 1, we will start having war crimes trials, and some of you are going to go to prison or worse. And so Israel, never willing to place their own people at risk, need to attack Iran now, while all those American kids are stuck in Iraq, right in the path of the oncoming Iranian counterattack. That's why the rush is on here. Israel wants to bomb Iran and then let your brothers and sisters and sons and daughters and wives and husbands and uncles and aunts do their fighting for them, because that's the way Israel's always done it. Attack the USS Liberty, blame Egypt for it, get the Americans going with it, fake radio transmitter in Tripoli, trick Reagan into bombing Libya, blow up the USS Cole, World Trade Center, the Levant affair. This is how Israel has always done these things. They want to start a war and they want you to clean it up, and that's what they're trying to do right now. And they're pushing this IAEA report as a justification for Israel to go in and blow up the power station at Bushehr, just like they went in and blew up Iraq's power station at Osirik. And I'd like to remind everybody that when they went in and looked at the ruins of Osirik, they found a power station and nothing else. Israel has a very poor track record of detecting clandestine nuclear weapons laboratories underneath power stations, except, of course, for their own at Dimona. Now, that power station was built by Russia. Until it is paid for, it's still technically Russian state property. There are Russian technicians on the ground there. If Israel starts killing them, things are going to get really, really ugly. Oh, we got into war with Russia. We didn't mean to do that. You Americans, you go kill them for us. That's going to be their attitude here. And of course, all of Israel's whores over here have got their little short skirts and their pom-poms on to go out and say, yes, we must do this. What you mean we, paleface? Joe Lieberman is out there saying the U.S. must consider military force against the Islamic Republic of Iran. Okay, Joe, if you're dumb enough to believe the same people who lied to you about Iraq's nuclear weapons and you want to insist on attacking Iran, we the American people will support you. Here's your rifle. Here's your parachute. Don't trip climbing onto that airplane, and we'll call Tehran and tell them you're on your way. If you want to attack Iran, go ahead. More power to you, but you do not take our kids with you, because we got lied to before into another war. We're not going to do that again. Fool me once, etc., 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 etc. Mitt Romney's also out there with his pom-poms, screaming for war with Iran. There's room enough on that plane, you can sit right next to Joe Lieberman, parachute in, and just do all the shooting that you want to do. The international press is reporting that the IAEA report was primarily created by American and Israeli intelligence sources, propagandists. The IAEA doesn't actually have their own investigative people. They rely on reports from the intelligence services of members of the United Nations, and they relied on Israel and the United States. Now, what's really interesting here is all of these accusations about Iran that came from the laptop of death were put together in what was called the secret annex back in 2008. But Mohammed al-Baradei basically said there is no proof for any of this. It fails to come up to the standard of proof that we require in order to include it in our final report. We only want provable, documented facts. Did you find highly enriched uranium? No. Did you find any evidence they're diverting uranium from the power station to military purposes? No. Well, then you don't really have anything. And that's when they decided they needed to get rid of Mohammed al-Baradei and get a new head in the IAEA who would take all of these unproven claims from the secret annex of 2008, the laptop of death, and just put them all in there and treat them like they're established fact, and they aren't. And already, one of the major accusations has been debunked, because in this IAEA report, they were talking about this sensational claim that a former Soviet nuclear weapons scientist was helping Iran build a detonation system that could be used for a nuclear weapon. This was the guy working with high powerful explosives and those Krytron switchers, blah, 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 blah. Therefore, they're guilty. Let's go and kill them. It turns out this scientist that they're talking about, his name is, I hope I can pronounce this correctly, Vyacheslav Danlenko, okay? And not only is he not a nuclear weapons scientist, he's never worked on nuclear weapons. What he does is he's an expert. He's one of the top experts in the world in producing nanodiamonds with explosives. What they're doing is, diamonds in the earth are formed under tremendous pressure. So what this guy does is, nanodiamonds are used in industrial abrasives and tiny bearings and all kinds of industrial applications like that, not connected with weaponry. This guy basically builds these explosive containers that when they're detonated will produce these nanodiamonds in the debris, which are then harvested off and used for industrial applications. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing in Iran. It's what he's always done. It's what he's expert at. He's never worked on nuclear weapons. So already this new IAEA report has a gaping, ragged hole blown in the side of its credibility. You will not hear that on the American media, of course, but it's already making the rounds all over the rest of the world. And apparently it was a bad enough goof where one of Israel's top rah-rah people over in the Obama administration is already being shown the door, a guy by the name of Dennis Ross. And we're getting the usual story, he wants to spend more time with his family, which is code for I'm being fired, but they don't want to talk about why. But basically this Soviet nuclear scientist claim has already imploded. It's a complete dud. And not only has it imploded, but what they're saying this guy was doing makes perfect sense in the context of artificial creation of nanodiamonds for industrial purposes. It's high technology R&D, the kind of stuff the United States used to do before they decided they could get rich with the mortgage-backed security fraud. Now, Israel's already whining and crying that we're not accepting the IAEA report. Israel is being betrayed by the world powers. But they're up there in Canada celebrating because Canada's their new best friend. They're done with the United States of America. They've sucked out all the money. There's nothing left really for them to get. We're just this dry husk of what used to be the greatest nation on earth, and we're about to fall over dead. And so Israel has hopped across the border and gotten their tentacles around the throats of the government of Canada, and they're up there saying, yes, you're our new best friends. You're wonderful. You will do for us what the USA used to do. And I'm sorry, Canada, I did try and warn you that this is what was going to happen here. So they're lying us into another war. They're lying us into another war. Just like they lied us into the war in Iraq. They lied us into the war in Afghanistan. Bin Laden wasn't even there. He hasn't been there since he was working for the CIA against the Soviet Union. And that's even if you accept the official story about 9/11, which of course hardly anybody does anymore. It's just one gigantic fraud after the other, after the other, after the other, because as Sun Tzu wrote in The Art of War, when a world ruler decides they're just going to invade the neighbor and steal all their wealth just for the heck of it, they have to lie their own people into doing it, because human beings left to themselves don't like war. It's dirty, dangerous, uncomfortable, unpleasant work, very poorly paid, and you run the risk of being killed. And as we found out yesterday, if you get killed in service to the United States of America, they basically throw you in a landfill. There's gratitude for you. But what is obviously happening here right now is people are becoming more and more aware of just how out of control this situation with Israel has become. Apparently, as we reported yesterday, Barack Obama and Sarkozy at the G20 were talking about Benjamin Netanyahu and talking about how he's always lying and what a difficult person he is to get along with. And they both agreed with that and was caught by the microphone. Now, Netanyahu himself has said in speeches that, yes, of course he lies. That's his job, to always lie, to present Israel's agenda to the world as an absolute fact, and any counter-arguments have to be denounced as groundless. So Netanyahu himself has openly admitted that, yeah, he lies. That's what he thinks he's supposed to do. Despite this, the Jewish vote in the United States is very upset with Barack Obama. How dare he express that Benjamin Netanyahu is a liar? Benjamin can say that about himself, but you can't say that about him. And, of course, we have Michelle Bachmann came out demanding the President of the United States of America publicly apologize to Benjamin Netanyahu for his remarks, thereby proving to all of us who Michelle Bachmann really works for. And that gets us back to that idea. No government can serve two masters. A friend of Israel is no friend of America. A government that serves Israel cannot serve America. Right now, in these dark times, America needs leaders who are going to put America first, second, and third, and Michelle Bachmann just basically proved she's not that, and neither is Romney, and neither is Lieberman. Neither is anybody out there screaming for another war for American kids to die in to benefit Israel. It is time for these Israel lovers to go. We'll be back after news and commercials. Now, I want to make one more comment about this thing about Iran. There is no way that Washington, D.C. and Tel Aviv actually think they have fooled anybody with this latest IAEA report. We know that most of the claims in there came from the laptop of death, which has no provenance whatsoever. There is no confirmation about any of the claims in there about nuclear weapons development in Iran. It's a complete phantom. And after the lies about Iraq's weapons of mass destruction, nobody's going to trust these people. They know that we know it's a fake. So they're moving forward saying, we have the paper that says we must attack them, really, and the polite thing, patriotic thing for you to do is to go along with the lie. Well, we're not going to do that. We don't see acceptance of lies as proof of our patriotism. Our patriotism is a devotion to truth above all else, and a refusal to obey a government that lies to us. So how are they going to do this thing? Israel is going to, every war game regarding an attack by Israel on Iran ends the same way. Israel can't survive it. Somebody has to come in and intervene. That's going to be the United States of America. That both Obama and Bush have pledged that the United States will come in to protect Israel if Israel attacks Iran and Iran counterattacks. That was all the way back during Bush's administration, where they said the U.S. will defend Israel against Iran even if Israel starts the war. That actually what is official U.S. government policy. We don't care who starts the war, we're on Israel's side. So what are they going to do? They've got all the kids that are there in Iraq who are going to be kicked out of Iraq here at the end of the year. We don't know where they're going to put them. They don't have a place to stand on it. But what is going to have to happen? There are two things to be aware of. Are they desperate enough to try another false flag, set off an atomic bomb in Chicago and say, ooh, see, Iran really had a bomb. That had to come from them because we don't have any unaccounted for nuclear weapons. And we know that's a lie. We know Israel has hundreds of nuclear weapons. Nobody's counting those because they refuse IAEA inspections. We know there's at least one nuclear weapon still floating around somewhere in the U.S. intelligence network from that little exercise with the aircraft, with the armed nuclear weapons on the wing flying over the United States of America, and somewhere along the way, one of them just sort of went missing. So, false flag, maybe. I'd like to hope that cooler heads are going to prevail when they say, they didn't buy the last one. They're not going to buy this one, but the money junkies are desperate. Are they desperate enough to nuke a place like Chicago or San Francisco to get their war? Of course they are. They did it to New York. They suckered the Japanese into attacking Pearl Harbor and then tried to act like it was a huge surprise. They took a coal bunker explosion in the USS Maine and used that as an excuse to declare war on Spain. These people have no soul. It's worship of money and a reverence for other people's blood to be spilled across the battlefields of the world. That's what's going on here. So there may be a false flag. We don't know. But what there is going to be, without a shadow of a doubt, is a draft in the United States of America. They have to, because the American people are not going to volunteer to fight a war that they know is based on lies. They're not going to volunteer to fight a war knowing that we're on the wrong side, that we're the aggressor, that we don't really have a justification for invading yet another country, attacking yet another of Israel's enemies, of attacking yet another country that dares to have a state bank and a value-based currency to make the world safe for private central banking. They're not going to volunteer. So when Israel attacks Iran and Iran counterattacks, I'm guarantee you Obama's going to get on that TV and he's going to say, well, we're in it now and we're going to have to reinstitute the draft because you're going to have to go out there and defend Israel from Iran. That is what they're planning to do right now. And they'll do it as long as you let them get away with it. I remember the last draft. I remember losing my friends to Vietnam. I remember the ones who made it back didn't really come all the way back. It left them changed, and a lot of them didn't really survive. And we know how the U.S. government is treating veterans now. I know tomorrow's Veterans Day. We're supposed to wave a flag and say, yeah, thank you for your service. And yet the U.S. government isn't taking care of the veterans. The people who put on the uniform and went out to do their dirty work. The U.S. government, once you're used up, once you're no longer capable of spilling the blood of the people living over the oil, they don't care about you. That will be the end of it. So we're really kind of close on this one. They're trying to get this third world war, cranked up into rock and roll, full tilt boogie for truth, justice, and what we used to call the American way. And it's all about oil. It's all about Israel. It's all about forcing private central banking on the rest of the world so that what has been done to the United States of America gets done to everybody. And if they succeed, 50 years from now, the history books will have all been altered. There'll be no record that there was ever another way of doing a national economy. It'll all be erased. And our children will be raised in the school to think that, yeah, private central banks are always the way we've done this thing, because that's what I got taught when I was going to grade school. These people want to trade the blood of your children for more gold in their pocket. Like they don't have enough gold there already. They think it's a big, funny deal here.